So hang on. Let's examine that a minute. So is that buyer's remorse we're hearing there?
It is, yeah.
And why do you feel like that?
What has it delivered for people on the ground? Ordinary people like me, what has it delivered? It's going to cost me £7 to get to Europe. Taxes have gone up.
Sorry, it's going to cost you £7 to get. It's going to cost you a bit more than that.
Well, they're on
to
about
get to
introducing charges for immigration now in Europe, so that's going to add on to cost of living, so to speak. Taxes have gone up. The slogan on the side of a bus was a complete lie, because taxes have gone up, so that's not reality. Northern Ireland's in trouble, because, as Alistair said, the Good Friday Agreement. For young people, I think it's a complete, it's a mistake.
It's all very well you being optimistic, but his reality is that it's not working.
But I need to bounce back on the slogan on the side of the bus, because actually this government's delivered far more than £350 million a week for the NHS. Far more.
Where is it for ordinary people?
For ordinary people, it's going in, and you will appreciate that the COVID pandemic presented
You've just had to put taxes to their highest in 70 years to pay for the National Health.
He loves talking over people,
well, you talk nonsense.
Okay,
if you're going to talk nonsense, I'm going to correct you.
Alistair, I'm going to come to you, but let her answer.
OK, but don't talk nonsense. If you're going to talk nonsense, and Fiona's not going to call you out on the facts, I will.
I'm thrilled you're on the panel and really want to hear what you've got to say, but we have to let other people speak as well. This man has made a point. We want to hear what the audience say. You, sir, are disappointed with the way Brexit's turning out. You're hugely optimistic. How do you answer him?
Because we haven't fully had the opportunity to embrace some of the benefits of Brexit yet. Because the pandemic, because the war in Ukraine, I'm incredibly optimistic. We need to get the last bits of the detail knuckled down. Liz Truss is working on this hard at the moment, as are other Foreign Office ministers.
She's getting a lot of mentions, isn't she, now, Liz?
Well, she is the Foreign Secretary.
OK, fair enough.
This is literally within her brief, working incredibly hard on this, as are lots of very dedicated civil servants who are very much on top of the detail. I'm very confident, very optimistic, but it's going to take more than just Brexit. It's the opportunities that brings, the opportunity to set our own tax rates.
OK, so how long do you think... Sorry, what's your name? Lewis. How long do you think Lewis will have to wait before he thinks he made the right decision?
Well, I'm hoping not very long at all, because I'm hoping...
What, like a year, 2 years,
I'm hoping with a new leader, whoever that may be, we do start to embrace the low-tax, proper, conservative economic regime that will bring some of those benefits, that see cheaper prices in shops, better employment opportunities, great opportunities for people in this part of the world, in Bishop Auckland, the area that I'm very proud to represent, who do need levelling up, who do need those opportunities, and I am confident it's going to come.
Lewis, are you convinced?
Not really. You mentioned COVID. National insurance has just gone up to account for the $12 billion that got lost in fraud. And then Ukraine is a so recent event that you can't really amalgamate the two together.
Well, the national insurance rise is not something that I voted for.
OK, the man with the glasses there in the blue T-shirt, I think you're wearing?
Something which is really interesting is, so we voted to leave the European Union, and the role of the government is to secure the best opportunities for the country. Then why didn't we say yes to the European ventilator scheme? Because actually we were offered loads of ventilators by Europe, and we said no through arrogance. So why?
Yeah, I mean, we went on to develop our own ventilators, but you're right, we did opt out of that scheme. The man there in the blue T-shirt and the green jacket with the glasses.
Yeah, so big fan of the podcast, Alistair.
Thank you, sir.
One thing that you do, and I find that Remainers do, now, I was on the fence and voted leave in the voting booth, but when this country comes together and decides they're going to do something, if we took the view that it's a zero sum, Brexit's happened, let's work on what's the best thing forward now for the country. And what Remainers do is argue, Brexit's bad, they promise you this didn't happen. Maybe so, but we're never going to go back in, so we need to stop talking about that and we need to move on and make it better.
Well, let me say, thank you very much for listening to the podcast and enjoying it, where we disagree agreeably. But let me just say why I still feel this is worth talking about. I think Keir Starmer's real strength is, as Bridget said earlier, his integrity, his honesty, the fact that you can see him as a Prime Minister. I think that when you have a situation where we know, at a time of a cost of living crisis, there is a 4% hit on GDP, and we know why. There is a 4% hit on productivity, and we know why. When you see the reality of what's happening in North Ireland, the reality of what's happening at ports, the reality of going to airports and finding that you're in the lane and you can't get through quick and all the rest of it, and the nightmare for farmers and fishermen and all the promises that were broken. What I liked about Keir's speech this week is actually I think Labour have to keep calling that out, because that has to be part of a debate. Where I completely disagreed with Keir this week was in saying that there can be no discussion at all of going back into the customs union, for example. When every single Brexiteer, Boris Johnson, probably you, everybody else, said that was not even on the agenda. So the Brexit we've got is so far removed from the Brexit that was promised. It's doing massive damage to the economy. It's doing massive damage to our standing in the world. And I just think that is a debate we have to keep alive. I'm not saying we're going back in. I'm not saying Labour should fight on that. But we cannot have this gigantic elephant in the room and pretend that it doesn't exist.
So I was saying we need to stop the toxic debate. Brexit's happened, and you just keep saying, yes, no, Northern Ireland. I might agree with you, but if you spent your energy coming up with solutions to solve
We've tried.
Okay.
We've tried.
Let's hear from these two women here.
We've
yes,
tried.
The woman in the
They
glasses.
don't want it.
Thank you very much. Coming back to Brexit and who's going to be the next Prime Minister and what happens next, you talk about a mandate for the Conservative Party, and Boris Johnson delivered Brexit, but he delivered a promise that was nowhere near what people thought they were voting for. So to say that you've got a majority, it was based on something that was never going to happen. So you can't say that that's your mandate to go forward now and just plough on with Brexit. We trust the Conservative...
So you think there should be a general election, do you?
I'll get to that point. We trust the Conservative Party to be the economic leaders, to be the people that can steer you and low taxes and promoting business. But I think you've lost sight of representative democracy and what the actual people need. I think it doesn't matter which member of the Conservative Party becomes next Prime Minister, because you've all had the chance to deliver your promises on Brexit, to look at the cost of living crisis, to look at all the masses of money that were wasted on like PPE and the damage that's done to the environment. So yes, we do need a general election, but it needs to be a general election where people are given the right information and there's no lies and false advertising and false promises, because we're just going to